This is CBC Vancouver News.
Clearing of encampments along East Hastings Street continues.
No, just keep coming back to this spot.
Where people are going after Vancouver City crews remove their tents. And no more mask mandates in BC hospitals and other healthcare facilities.
We are emerging from this pandemic, and we no longer need to have some of these orders in place.
The new rules and some exceptions. Plus, appeal dismissed.
I'm pretty sure the reasons are political.
Canada's highest court will not hear an appeal in a Vancouver doctor's long-running challenge over access to private health care. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. Dan is away tonight. We begin in Vancouver's Downtown Eastside, where police continue to clear encampments along Hastings Street. Dozens of people were removed in Wednesday's first phase, but some came back today. Here's Susanna De Silva with more on where things stand tonight.
There are fewer tents on East Hastings Street, but a day after it was mostly cleared out, it's far from empty.
Well, I want to go to work, I want to do everything too, but can't do that because we can't get a place left.
This push began one block down from where it left off Wednesday. Now it was John Henry's turn to move.
It's just the dance, it's bullshit.
Cressy Poirier had managed to leave a few belongings, but with the upheaval, new stress.
I lost my cell phone yesterday, so I don't know. Trying to look for it while I'm doing this, but the mess is getting bigger, so I'm just hoping I didn't throw it out.
He came back when the rain started, but this time he says he's been told nothing can be left behind.
It's not like they didn't warn us or tell us or ask us. I know it sucks, it really does, because, I mean, look at the weather, right? A lot of people lost everything they had yesterday.
The city says 36 people were moved off the streets Wednesday. 8 were placed in shelters. As for the rest, some went around the corner, in the alleys, or a few blocks away. City officials say the move is a matter of public safety.
When you have an explosion or a fire in a park, that is a travesty in itself, and many injuries and deaths have occurred because of that. But when we see them against building, it adds a whole other complexity and danger and risk.
Others say the focus should be on housing.
It's about $20,000 a year to house someone in supportive housing. It's about $120,000 a year to rely on policing or emergency rooms or shelters.
Well, who can I talk to? Go talk to this person. So you go there and then, no, you got to go over here. So I've been down here.
Christine has been in Vancouver since December, trying to get her son and his partner housing. Finally, they'll have something May 1st.
And I looked really hard. There's nothing. So I don't know where they're sending them. I don't know why. I don't know. You guys have a good day.
Susanna De Silva, CBC News, Vancouver.
As we saw in Susanna's story, some people are no strangers to having their tents removed. Justin McElroy looks back at the recent history of tent encampments in Vancouver and what could be next.
The irony this week, impossible to ignore. In the Wall Centre, a giant glass condo named for one of Vancouver's biggest developers, hundreds of politicians met for 2 days to talk about solving the housing crisis.
It is a rare opportunity that we have a federal, provincial, and municipal governments increasingly aligned on solving this problem.
That was on Tuesday. On Wednesday, on the other side of downtown, this happened. It wasn't the first tent city removal we've seen this decade, and it wasn't the second. Here is a very depressing montage.
They forced us here, and so now we're here. And so where are we gonna go?
City officials have asked for a court injunction that would allow them to dismantle the tent city.
So we want to be sure that people are safe and they have an option, a place to move.
The campers had come here from another tent city that was dismantled on Thursday. The city went to court to get an injunction to shut it down. Many of the campers marched to this site where approximately 15 people set up a dozen or so tents.
BC Supreme Court judge granted an injunction to evict homeless campers at 950 Main Street.
They're calling it Sugar Mountain. They say they're going to keep pushing and relocating their community as long as they have to.
The city of Vancouver has ordered the eviction of the homeless camp.
Get us some real housing.
The fences are here to prevent a repeat of what happened last year when the city tried to dismantle the camp. Many people left, but returned a short while later. The province says that can't happen again.
When we return to a new normal after COVID-19, we want to make sure that the new normal does not mean people are forced back to the street.
2 months ago, Oppenheimer Park disbanded, but some of those campers ended up here erecting a new tent city. The campers have 15 days to vacate.
Moving day at Strathcona Park. At its height, 500 homeless residents called this space home.
Our goal is that, everybody who wants to move inside will be moved inside.
400 people live in tents along several blocks of Hastings Street. The order to move the tents came from the fire chief.
You're just going to move it for maybe a day and everyone will come back. So, or they'll go somewhere else. So it's not really a solution to the issue.
10 tent cities in 10 years, all within a kilometer of Main and Hastings. The cycle always repeating, and the city more or less admitting this week that this won't change that.
We're not solving homelessness here today. That's not what this is about. This is about dealing with a very serious public safety issue.
But one thing has changed.
We support all of our teammates, including the VPD and fire, that may have been lacking in the past. And so we're one unified team.
And that is true. In Kennedy Stewart's term, council, park board, and police rarely agreed on the best way to deal with encampments. In Ken Sim's term, they're all on the same page, all in alignment on solving the problem. The big certainty is that Vancouver wants to approach this issue differently than the past. The big uncertainty is what they will do, whether it will work, and what it will mean for those stuck in the middle. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
A big change to COVID-19 pandemic rules in BC. You will no longer have to wear a mask inside a hospital or healthcare setting with some exceptions. Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry says transmission of COVID-19 and the flu is dropping in every part of the province, prompting an end to mandatory masking orders in most healthcare settings. As well, visitors to long-term care homes and assisted living facilities will no longer need to do a rapid test or show proof of vaccination. Dr. Henry says the unprecedented influenza season that hit children, in particular the hardest, has eased. Data shows new hospitalizations from COVID-19 have fallen from about 40 cases daily in early January to about 25 in mid-March.
So lots of people are still getting sick, and some people with COVID, but we're not seeing an increase in hospitalizations from COVID, and we're not seeing increases in critical care and people getting very sick with COVID. But I think in the next few months, we're likely to be able to say we're no longer in a pandemic. COVID is going to be with us, and we're going to have to be prepared for the uncertainty of next year.
Dr. Henry says healthcare workers will still need to wear a mask in some settings, and you may be asked to as well, for example, in burn units or near people who are extremely vulnerable. One rule does remain: all healthcare workers must still be vaccinated. Reaction to the change is pouring in. In a statement, BC Green Deputy Leader Dr. Sanjeev Gandhi says they are deeply disappointed, stating today the BC Ministry of Health and BC Public Health failed to acknowledge the detrimental ongoing impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. There was no recognition of the systemic and potentially destructive nature of the virus. Dr. Gandhi believes the Provincial Infection Control Network of BC and the Provincial Health Authority have failed to heed well-established scientific information and advice from experts. Dr. Henry says heading into the fall, she expects a booster program for all British Columbians and some mask rules may return. A long-running legal battle over access to private health care in this country is over. The Supreme Court of Canada has dismissed a BC doctor's appeal in a challenge over the right to access private care. Mira Baines has more on the 14-year fight.
Pretty sure the reasons are political.
Dr. Brian Day, the owner of the Cambie Surgery Centre in Vancouver, believes the decision was political. He had argued that prolonged wait times for medical procedures violated 2 charter rights, including the right to life, liberty, and security of the person.
Patients are suffering from cancers, from so-called elective surgery, but people in extreme pain waiting years to access health care that's been promised been promised based on need, but that need is not being fulfilled.
The Medicare Protection Act bans doctors from billing the government for work they do in the public system while also earning money from private clinics as well as billing patients or their insurance companies. Day argued these rules are unconstitutional because they prevent patients from accessing private medical treatment when the public system can't provide timely care. His lawyers argued patients have a constitutional right to pay for private care when wait times in the public system are too long. But lower courts found there was little to suggest that unrestrained private health care would reduce wait times in the public system, and Canada's highest court declined to hear an appeal.
It's really a very important day for the public health care system in BC.
Health Minister Adrian Dix says the province is having success with its surgical renewal program to cut wait lists amid the COVID pandemic.
And with respect to a time when the main impediment and the main challenge in public health care is health human resources. To divert health human resources from the public system doesn't improve the public system.
Day started battling the provincial government in 2009. BC's Medical Services Commission is now taking on TELUS Health over its fee-based Life Plus program. Mira Baines, CBC News, Victoria.
One man is dead after police opened fire responding to an alleged armed robbery in Surrey last night. Mounties say they were responding to a call at a motel near 104th and 140th Street in Whalley when building staff reported an armed robbery happening at the same time. Police say they found 2 robbery suspects and an officer shot at one of them. The suspect died at the scene. BC's police watchdog has been called in. Victoria police say they have made an arrest in connection to a destructive fire that destroyed the home of a Ukrainian priest. Last April, the family of 5 barely escaped their burning home. Now, after a lengthy investigation, police say a Nanaimo man has been arrested. The force says he is charged with 1 count of arson with disregard for human life. Investigators say the fire was targeted but not motivated by hatred towards an identifiable group. The BC government is investing $2 million to research renewable ocean energy.
Just imagine capturing the power of the ocean, the surf, the sun, to free communities from needing to rely on fossil diesel fuel for heat and light and transportation and jobs.
The money is going toward the University of Victoria's Pacific Regional Institute for Marine Energy Discovery, known as PRIMED. They are working to develop a new type of tidal energy system at Blind Channel Resort on West Thurlow Island. A reminder, if you plan to board a BC ferry this Easter long weekend, it's going to be hopping.
We do expect to be quite busy this weekend, though, with travelers opening up summer cottages and whatnot, visiting family, friends, and having some Easter egg hunts.
Staff expects more than 400,000 passengers. To help mitigate holiday crowds, 128 more sailings are being added between Tawasin and Shorts Bay. Horseshoe Bay to Departure Bay will get 42 more sailings, and 16 sailings have been added to the route connecting Langdale to Horseshoe Bay. And if you're traveling by air...
So this weekend at YVR, heading into the Easter long weekend here in British Columbia, we are expecting to be rather busy out at YVR, expecting about 60 to 63,000 passengers daily.
YVR is expecting more than 480,000 travelers this week, connecting people to 96 destinations across Canada and around the world. Today and Friday are expected to be the busiest travel days. Airport officials remind you to plan ahead, arrive 2 hours early for domestic flights, 3 for international, and know your parking plan before you arrive. And a reminder for drivers in Metro Vancouver, this weekend, avoid the Patello Bridge. The bridge will be closed in both directions from 10 o'clock tonight until Tuesday morning at 5 o'clock. The closure will allow for work on the replacement bridge project, including concrete patching and moving the seismic warning system. Drivers are asked to use the Portman or Alex Fraser bridges instead.
What we have uncovered is systemic failure at every government level.
Opponents of the Coastal GasLink pipeline take issue with how governments are monitoring it. That story when we return. Thank you for watching our commercial-free live stream. While advocates call for increased transit in Toronto, some concerned parents say it should not be at the expense of children's well-being. As Patrick Swadden explains, with construction of the Ontario line running right next to a school, a parent group is calling on the government to do more to ensure kids' health and safety.
Everett and his friend Nathaniel are both in kindergarten at Pape Avenue Junior. The K-6 public school sits along the route of the province's proposed Ontario line, the new line being built by Metrolinx between the Ontario Science Centre and Exhibition Place downtown. Everett's mother, Kara McCutcheon, says she's worried the effect construction will have on children at Pape School.
We're talking about years of constant invasive noise levels that will impact their learning.
The proposed Ontario line will run underground along Pape Avenue, right next to the school. An elevated section will be located to the southwest where Gerrard Station is planned. A group of Pape Avenue parents joined McCutcheon at Queen's Park today.
We want what every parent wants, which is a learning environment that is safe and healthy for our kids to go to school.
And the group has specific demands.
The noise level in an occupied classroom should not exceed 40 to 50 decibels.
That number comes from the World Health Organization. The WHO saying sustained exposure to levels above this can cause chronic hearing damage for children.
The Ontario line construction plan is projected to have decibels in the range of 69 and 120.
McCutcheon's group has submitted formal requests to both Metrolinx and the Minister of Transportation. She says Metrolinx has formed a committee that's met with them, but stopped short of promising a noise limit. It's drawn the ire of NDP MPP Peter Tabbins, who represents the riding.
What I'm asking the Minister, Speaker, is to tell Metrolinx to set a standard that they will be held to. It will require investment, but we need to have an agreed standard. World Health Organization is the right one to protect the children and protect the learning environment.
I want to assure families that Metrolinx is committed to ensuring that the highest levels of safety standards are maintained throughout construction, because we all agree the Ontario line needs to be built.
Mulrooney says Metrolinx has installed a noise level monitor by the school, but wouldn't commit to WHO guidelines. That's left McCutcheon hoping for more.
Metrolinx has the resources and they have the time to plan and do this properly and to protect our children.
Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
Yesterday, we showed you Rob Brown's investigation into the Coastal GasLink attacks, digging deeper into who may be behind them. Today, more perspectives from those who oppose the project. As Radio Canada's Camille Vernet explains, efforts have changed from protesting to monitoring.
I'm here with members of the Wet'suwet'en Nation. They're trying to get as close as possible to the Coastal GasLink pipeline.
Okay, let me just contact.
After driving about 60k on a forestry road, we're stopped.
Yeah, that's pretty much our answer right there.
Access is denied by Coastal GasLink.
To ensure the safety and integrity of the work site, Coastal GasLink is restricting access. We're not impeding the work. We are simply going in to have a look at the work being done. We are not a safety issue because this is a public road.
Taking a look will have to be done from afar, from a healing lodge a few kilometers away. A drone will be their eyes on the ground. They monitor the pipeline to make sure the rules are followed.
And we're trying to see if there is any progress or activity on the receiving end of this crossing.
This is the Maurice River. Crossing it has been one of the most contentious parts of the project.
I heard they were stuck under there. That was the rumor.
Yeah, I heard the same rumor. It's just hard to find confirmation.
That's why we're here monitoring. They are supposed to be finished.
They are not supposed to be doing any damage to any of the creeks or rivers that are fish or salmon habitat.
Hereditary Chief Namox has been fighting to protect this river for years.
And this river here is actually our main salmon-bearing river. This is what we call the very heart of who we are. This is the vein of our people, this river system here.
The Maurice forms part of the Skeena watershed, a group of rivers and creeks the size of Switzerland, according to Greg Knox, who does salmon conservation work in northwest BC.
The southern part of the watershed.
His biggest concern, the sediments released in the water by the construction of the pipeline.
It can choke out the eggs that salmon lay in the gravel because water needs to flow through the gravel to bring oxygen to those eggs over the winter.
He says the government and Coastal GasLink haven't kept their promises to protect fish.
They're causing these impacts, and the government's doing really nothing about it. They're not holding them accountable.
In an interview with CBC, TC Energy says river crossings have gone well.
We've completed 9 safely so far, and the Maurice River is our 10th that we're completing, and we've had no environmental challenges to date.
The Environmental Assessment Office said in an email it has conducted almost 70 inspections and has warned TC Energy almost 70 times over environmental violations.
Like as far as I can tell.
Back in Hazelton, the team is reviewing the footage.
Looks like they were doing what they were supposed to.
If they uncover wrongdoing, they share it with the regulators. Shannon MacPhail said the response she got back made her lose faith in the system.
What we have uncovered is systemic failure at every government level, both provincial and federal, to monitor this pipeline and to ensure compliance and enforcement is happening. And as a person who has lived here for multiple generations, that's not okay. Salmon are a major part of our economy. They are a major part of ecosystem integrity.
Other pipelines are being proposed in the region, and they're afraid the impact on the environment might last for generations to come.
The future is clean air, clean water, and food security. The future that we have is freedom for our children, and it is not to be governed by an industry or a government that will listen to industry over its own people.
With eyes in the sky, they vow to stay vigilant and promise to hold both companies and government to account. Camille Vernet, Radio-Canada, Houston.
Here we have a live shot of Georgia Street. Johanna will have your full forecast for the Easter long weekend coming up next.
The scenic sights of Vancouver, Stanley Park, and a new one, Bill Clinton. Whatever Clinton did, whether it was pursuing his personal battle of the bulge, going to church, or sailing around Vancouver Harbor, he was the center of attention. He was the star of the summit, as Mikhail Gorbachev used to be in the 80s. It's not just that Clinton is the new boy on the block. He's, after all, also the leader of the only superpower left. But if Boris Yeltsin no longer carries the clout of his predecessors at these summits, he still has a big stick. And an American president must still take that Russian clout into account.
I don't mind saying to this whole assemblage that I told President Yeltsin I very much regretted the submarine incident.
The accidental collision between a Russian submarine and an American one recently off the coast of Russia was a reminder that Moscow is still a nuclear military power to be reckoned with. The two men said they discussed further reductions in arms and also ways of stopping conflicts such as Bosnia.
We discussed what might be done to see to it that all participants in the Bosnian conflict support the UN position.
The UN is depending on Moscow's support in Bosnia, but Yeltsin has been under pressure from Russian nationalists to distance himself from the UN and support instead the Serbs, Russia's traditional allies. If Yeltsin should be replaced by his opponents in Moscow, those nationalists would likely get their way. Yeltsin treated the question of his political future with caution and humor.
At the moment, today I say, there is no alternative to Yeltsin. Perhaps there will be one tomorrow, but certainly not today.
This afternoon, when the Russian leader flew off to his uncertain future in Moscow, he at least had a few more financial weapons to help him in his fight for survival. The most important outcome of the Vancouver summit is not the money that will go to Moscow, nor the agreements on Bosnia or submarines. What happened here is that on his first summit outing, Bill Clinton bet the bundle on Boris Yeltsin. Joel Schlesinger, CBC News, Vancouver.
Land Back is a CBC original podcast where we uncover land theft in Canada and look at how Indigenous people are taking it all back. Land Back is out now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
On April 15th, join CBC at the Vancouver Vasaki Festival, a Sikh celebration of the coming of a new year. Drop by the CBC Vancouver tent, say hi, and win some fun CBC prizes. And continue the celebration and fanfare at the Sikh Festival on April 22nd at the Surrey Vasaki Parade. Visit us at the CBC Vancouver tent for your chance to win fun CBC prizes. More info at cbc.ca/BC.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace, installing the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Well, Johanna, it was a little soggy today. Is there more showers in the forecast?
You know what? I don't think any day this long weekend will be as wet as today, Janella, but yeah, we've got some more showers in our long weekend forecast. This system hitting us straight from the Pacific, bringing up to 60 millimeters for parts of the island, more like a 20 to 40 millimeter story for Metro Vancouver. It will ease tomorrow afternoon. We still have the rainfall warning in place from Campbell River northward, where we're looking to see those 60 millimeters. And Haida Gwaii is still under the wind warning overnight tonight for gusts coming in up to 110 kilometers per hour. But as far as additional rainfall between now and the end of Sunday, because we do have a couple more systems, I'm thinking a general 10 to 20 millimeters when all is said and done. The yellows indicate some higher amounts towards the mountains, but we'll break it down. There will be some breaks in there. And I think our first best chance of a sunny break is actually tomorrow afternoon for Metro Vancouver. Now, if you are traveling to see family and friends across the interior, that's the sweet spot this weekend. All of these storms sort of hit the coast. We'll see some showers tomorrow, but then lots of sunshine as we head into Saturday and Sunday for much of the province. It's just the south coast and all the way up through the north coast. So we'll get the showers on Saturday, steadier rain on Sunday, before a bit of a breath on Monday. So there's the sunshine showing up for places like Williams Lake, Kelowna 12. That'll turn into a 15 on Sunday. For Metro Vancouver, our temperatures for YVR are sort of around seasonal. Looking to enjoy that afternoon sunshine tomorrow. Drizzle on Saturday, steadier rain on Sunday, and hopefully by the time we hit that Monday, we're back to some sun. But the full blue skies don't show up until early next week. So I've briefed the bunny on the forecast, and indoor egg hiding is probably the best call.
I was going to say the Easter Bunny comes rain or shine.
Rain or
so
shine.
We're going to have some happy kids and maybe some kids at heart as well.
Exactly.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
That is your late news for Thursday. I hope you're all having a great start to your long weekend. For news anytime, visit our website, cbc.ca/bc. Have a great night.